What's up, guys? News FL here, back with another yearly NFL teams tier list video. Last year was 2023 to 2024 NFL season. Go check that video out. I had a lot of amazing, great takes over almost a year ago. And I'm doing this year's NFL season tier list for 2024 to 2025 NFL season. So, yeah. So anyway, let's get started. We got Super Bowl contenders tier, playoff teams, potential wild cards, mediocre at best, and number one pick contention. Pretty simple and straightforward. Starting with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now this team, listen, this team is not very good. It's honestly, it's pretty much mediocre at best. I think there's no doubt about it. When you got, Gardner Minshew, he's okay, right? But they lost Josh Jacobs, right? This Raiders offense seems to not be able to utilize Devontae Adams properly. They do have Jacoby Myers. They've gotten 2 first-round tight ends in Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer, which I find ridiculous and stupid. No hate, of course, but like both of these guys were both very high picks, so I did not understand why they got both of those guys. In my eyes, O-line's not very good. Besides Corey Miller, and Max Crosby is elite, of course, and they did add Christian Wilkins, so that will help that pass rush out. But overall, they don't got much secondary help. They have Nate Dobbs and Trayvon McGurk, however you spell that last name. But yeah, the team, they're just mediocre at best. I think it's pretty simple and straightforward. Moving on to the Cardinals. For me, with the addition of Marvin Harrison Jr., I think they're a potential wildcard team. Now, hear me out. This might be one of my crazy takes. I know. But Kyle Murray was injured last year. All right, Kyle Murray was injured. We've seen he can make plays, all right? He can run around, make plays. I know he's small, 5'11", 5'10", which I don't think is that short, by the way, but still, I guess for the NFL it is. But they got James Conner, who's a decent running back. You can't hate on him. Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, they did lose some receivers, of course, but when you got Marvin Harrison Jr., who I think is going to be elite, a guaranteed elite player, I think a number one receiver could do a lot for quarterbacks. Like, let's go back to Josh Allen, who started out horribly as a rookie quarterback for the Bills, and then once he got Stephon Diggs, he took that next level. So, you never know. Maybe Kyle Murray could do that, but yeah, I think this team could be underrated. They got Trey McBride, who's a nice young tight end, Paris Johnson Jr., Zaven Collins on defense. Now, their defense, yes, is lackluster, but they got some good players, and, Buda Baker, they did get Max Melton. They got Sean Murphy Bunting. Like I said, again, Zaven Collins. They definitely need to upgrade the defense, but I think this offense could be underrated, and I think they could be a potential wildcard team. Anyhow, moving on to the Dolphins, I think re-signing Tua is probably one of the worst decisions an NFL team's done in a while. Tua is not a playmaker. He is a game manager. I think he made that pretty clear last year, especially in the playoffs when, against the Chiefs, he couldn't score at all. The only touchdown he was able to score was when he underthrew a ball to Tyreek, where he had to come back and juke out a couple Chiefs defenders just to score a touchdown. Like, it is just so clear to me that Tua Tagovailoa is just a product of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and that amazing Mike McDaniels offense. So the fact that they paid him like he's good is ridiculous to me. They're definitely higher than the Cardinals, but still, man. They got Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert, great running back duo. They're going to be great offensively still, but they could be so much better if they had someone besides Tua. I feel like Tua can hold them back a lot. So, yeah. This team overall has got some nice pieces. Defensively, they could be underrated. They got Calais Campbell, Jalen Phillips. They still got Bradley Chubb. They did get Jordan Poyer from the Bills, and they still have Javon Holland and Jalen Ramsey. So they have a nice secondary overall. So we could see this defense maybe step up on the next level. So yeah, this team's definitely good. He could be a guaranteed playoff team, but I don't think so based off Tua. Maybe I'll put him at the very end of potential wildcard teams. It's difficult. It's difficult. They could be a playoff team. We'll see how we rank them later on, but right now I'm gonna put them there. Giants, I'm putting them at mediocre at best. Now, I've been saying number one pick contention for a while for the Giants. But then I just cannot ignore their defense that they have. Like, this defense that the Giants have is quite great. It's quite great, especially the pass rush. I mean, they have Brian Burris, Dexter Lawrence, Aziz Jalari, Bobby Okerke, Kayvon Thibodeau. Now, they did lose Xavier McKinney, but they still have Deonte Banks. Like, this defense is nice. And although I don't think Daniel Jones is the guy, Malik Neighbors, I think, is going to be a stud. Devin Singletary, not a great. It's definitely a downgrade to Saquon, and they can't really run anywhere with this O-line, which I don't think the O-line's half bad, you know what I'm saying? I mean, they have Andrew Thomas, John Runyon, and Evan Neal, who's injured right now. But yeah, like, I just think the scheme-wise, they're not very good at, like, coaching offensive linemen. But Darius Slay and Wan'Dale Robinson, Malik Neighbors, like, this is Daniel Jones' make or break here. If he can't do well with a known receiver in Malik Neighbors, then he's done. I don't think he's going to be able to do it anyway. So that's why I'm saying they're mediocre at best. So yeah. Broncos, number one pick contention. I want to just name the three Broncos quarterbacks that they have in the depth chart: Bo Nix, Jarrett Stidham, and Zach Wilson. Nothing else needs to be said, you know. Their defense lackluster. All they got is really Pat Surtain and John Franklin Myers. Their receiver core is lackluster. I do like Javonte Williams, so they're probably going to run the ball a lot, but still, like, number one pick attention for sure. They need more talent on this team, definitely. Anyway, the Steelers, potential wildcard team. Over the Dolphins, I'm going to say no because the Steelers is in the AFC North, which is the toughest division in the NFL when you got the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Browns as well. But listen, the Steelers got better at quarterback this year. Although you might be like, they just got some, you know, players that failed with their team in Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. That was better than Kenny Pickett, all right? That's 1,000 times better than Kenny Pickett, you know? Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. They got Najee, Jaren Warren. Okay, you know what I mean? Not the best, but hey, they got George Pickens, Van Jefferson, and pretty much not much else. They do have Quez Watkins, you know, Scotty Miller. They've got some speed, but besides George Pickens, they're not really great receiver-wise. Pat Freiermuth, I do like. They do need a better O-line, so O-line is something they need to address later on, but their defense is elite. They got Patrick Queen from the Ravens. They have TJ Watt still, arguably the best defensive player in the league right now, Cameron Hayward. They got Alex Highsmith, Dante Jackson, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Joey Porter Jr. This is the defense. The reason why the Steelers are here is because of their defense mainly, and Mike Tomlin, and the fact that he doesn't have a losing record ever. But yeah, that's why they're here. Moving on to the Ravens, it's tough. Super Bowl contenders or playoff teams. I'm putting them in playoff teams for a couple of reasons why. Mainly one reason why. The Chiefs. Now, no, I'm not going to put every single... There's probably one or two other teams along with the Chiefs that are in Super Bowl contenders that I have in mind. But the fact that the Ravens had MVP Lamar last year, and the number one defense by far, the Chiefs being not lackluster compared to previous years, the number one seed, and they still couldn't get the job done is absolutely crazy. The situation was never better. The situation was never better. It wasn't going to get better than last year. And they choked in the AFC Championship game, lost 17-10, and now they're in a worse situation. They lost Patrick Queen. They lost their coordinators. Lamar's still going to be Lamar, but you never know. He could get injured. I mean, Zay Flowers I do like, and I do expect him to take the next step. I do like Derrick Henry, but he's getting older. You know what I mean? Mark Andrews is, of course, Mark Andrews. But the main thing is that Joe Burrow's going to be back on the Bengals. This team's going to be more difficult. The division's going to be more difficult to deal with Rodgers also coming back and the Jets. It's just the situation's just going to be way, way harder. And Lamar is, I guess you got to classify him as a playoff choker. But regardless, the defense is still going to be good. But, man, the situation last year was just perfect for the Ravens, and they just didn't get the job done. So that's simply why I'm not putting them in Super Bowl contenders. Washington Commanders, mediocre at best. I'm putting them higher than the Giants. I like Jayden Daniels. They're moving on from their mediocre quarterback play in Sam Howell. They got Jayden Daniels now. who I like a lot. You know, he can run around a lot. You know, they did get Austin Elker, which I'm not a fan of. He's a bit old. I'd rather stick with Brian Robinson Jr. develop him because he's still pretty young. But Terry McLaurin, receiver one, Jahan Dotson, and they got Luke McCaffrey, first round receiver. Naomi Brown, you know, Zach Ertz. This O-line definitely needs to get better, but still, like, the weapons are there offensively, the skill positions. Defense, they have Jonathan Allen, Frank Louvu, Bobby Wagner, Manuel Forbes, Jeremy Chin. You know what I mean? Like, the defense could still get better as well, but, like, the pieces are there. Like, Jaden Daniels isn't put in the position to succeed, especially with the receiving core he's got. So, I'm going to say mediocre at best. He's a rookie quarterback. I think he's going to have some injury concerns. Definitely with the way he plays football, but I'm going to put mediocre at best for now. Maybe I could be proven wrong. Maybe they could be a little bit better. But, yeah, I'm going to put them there for now just to play it safe. The Buffalo Bills, putting them playoff team. They're still a playoff team. I know a lot of people are now down on the Bills, losing Stephon Diggs, losing Gabe Davis, losing Jordan Poyer. Like, they lost a lot of players, you know. But they still got Josh Allen, all right? They still got James Cook. The receiver core ain't the best, but they got Curtis Samuel. They did get Keon Coleman from the draft. They got Claypool, MVS. They do have Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox. They still have a decent O-lineman. They still have a decent defense at Ed Oliver, Greg Russo, Matt Milano, Rasul Douglas, Taylor Rapp. Not as good as previous years, but still, I think their defense is still going to be pretty good with Sean McDermott coaching that. But still, like, we got to talk about what last year happened with the Bills. After mid season, they were like 5-5, and they got rid of their offensive coordinator and got Joe Brady into the building. Joe Brady, as the offensive coordinator, got them on a 5-game winning streak, and they went 11-6. This team focused on running the ball way, way more, and this is why Stephon Diggs' production dropped immensely in the second half of the season. They don't need Stephon Diggs behind this new offense. They're going to be running the football a lot more. James Cook and Josh Allen are going to be the focal point of this offense, and I think they're going to be absolutely fine. So, yeah, that's what I think about the Bills. I think they're absolutely fine. Obviously, their goal is to win a Super Bowl, and I don't think they're going to be able to beat the Ravens or the Chiefs, but you never know. You never know. So, yeah. Moving on, we got the Green Bay Packers. I'm going to say they are a playoff team as well, especially what we saw last year. Beginning the season, they were, 2-5? Really, really ugly start for Jordan Love, and then he lit it up in the second half. Are playing arguably the best quarterback in the second half of the season. Destroyed the Dallas Cowboys and almost beat the 49ers in the divisional round. So they were a top 8 NFL team last year as the youngest team in NFL, which is crazy. Obviously, they got Jordan Love, who's the highest paid quarterback right now. Josh Jacobs. They did lose Aaron Jones, but Josh Jacobs is a great replacement. Younger, arguably better as well. They got great receiver core that's young. Christian Watson, Romeo Dubs, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Bo Melton, Malik Heath. A lot of great young guys. Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft. A decent O-line. Their O-line's always decent. And Zach Tomlin, of course. They got Preston Smith, Kenny Clark. You know, their defense is also going to be pretty good with Jair on there. Xavier McKinney from the Giants. You know, this team's very, very, very young. And they're definitely set up for success for a couple of years, especially with how young they are. They're right here, right next to the Bills, I'd say. Maybe in front of the Bills because they're getting better while the Bills are getting worse. But I don't know. They're definitely a playoff team, for sure. For sure. Moving on, we got the Falcons. That's tough. That's really tough. I'm gonna put the Falcons in potential wildcard teams. That is tough. Yeah, I'm gonna put the Falcons in potential wildcard teams for now. They did add Kirk Cousins to their offense, and they did get rid of Arthur Smith, who was a terrible, terrible head coach. This team, the NFC South is awful. It's terrible. So it's tough because it's between them and the Buccaneers for me as who wins the division, right? But they also have Bijan Robinson, great offensive player, Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Ray McLeod, Rondale Moore, Kyle Pitts. Their offensive weapons have always been good, especially for the past 2-3 years. But they never had the quarterback to, help them out. You know what I mean? They did get Michael Penix Jr. in the draft, which was very questionable, but I guess they want to do what the Packers do and be consistently good and get good quarterbacks. Their defense isn't very good besides AJ Terrell and Jesse Bates. So their backfield will be nice, but they need better pass rushers overall. But still, like, this team's definitely could be good. And you know what? I'm going to put them low-end playoff team. They're not, like, there's going to be definitely some teams in front of them, and there's going to be a lot of teams between the Packers and the Falcons, but I'm going to put low-end playoff team just because I think they were going to be the division leaders and, you know, be a confirmed playoff team, not a wild card team. So, yeah, moving on to the Los Angeles Rams. They were a playoff team last year, did get bounced down the first round. Personally, I'm putting them at top of wild card round because they got worse. I mean, yes, Puka Nacua was great, but Cooper Kupp's getting worse. Matthew Stafford is getting older and probably getting worse. They do have Kyren Williams, you know what I mean? They nailed last year's draft, of course. But the main thing I don't like is that they lost Aaron Donald. He decided to retire, unfortunately. The best defensive player of this generation. And it really does suck overall for not just Rams fans, but NFL fans in general. But listen, they still got Tyler Higbee. Their O-line could be better. I'm going to say they're a potential wildcard team because they do have a great receiver core in Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell, as well as Kyren Williams. So there's definitely offensive weapons there for Matthew Stafford. Moving on to the Bears. I like the Bears right here. Potential wildcard teams. They were a potential wildcard team last year. They were 7-10 with Justin Fields. Now they have Caleb Williams, who is probably the most hyped quarterback in years. He's a sensational prospect, and they added DeAndre Swift, Keenan Allen, and Rome Odunze, along with the already number one receiver in DJ Moore. So this offense is electric. As they also have Cole Kmet. You know, their O-line's improving. Their defense, when they added Montez Sweat last year, improved a lot. They also have Tremaine Edmonds, Jalen Johnson, Jaquan Brisker, Kevin Byard. This team is going in the right direction. And I think to play it safe, I'm going to put them in a potential wildcard team. But honestly, if Caleb goes crazy like CJ Stroud did, they're a most definite playoff team. They're a most definite playoff team. But right now, we're putting them here because there are some turnover issues for Caleb. But yeah, and it's the Bears. Bears are historically bad, and I don't like the coaching overall, but still. Potential wildcard team right between the Dolphins and the Steelers. I think that's pretty good. Moving on to the Seahawks. Ooh. That's tough. Ooh. Listen, I was actually high on the Seahawks last year. I believe I was high. Yeah, I said they were a playoff team. They weren't. I think they just missed the playoffs. But still, like, they got the Niners and the Rams and the Cardinals, and this is a pretty tough division overall. But I think it's safe to say that Geno Smith is getting older and is not gonna be able to repeat that great year he had 2 years ago. They do have a great young core in Kenneth Walker, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, who is getting older, but JSN, Jackson Smith-Njigba, no fan. You know, they got a decent O-line. And their defense is also young, but, you know, they're Tariq Woolen's there, Devin Witherspoon. They still need time to develop, and they need to get a new quarterback overall. I don't think Geno Smith is going to get better overall. So I'm putting them... Ooh, do I put the Seahawks? Oh, who do I put? The Seahawks or the Cardinals? I like Kyle Murray more than I like Geno Smith. But the Seahawks lost Pete Carroll as well. I'll put them mediocre at best. I'm mediocre at best. That might be a hot take, but I'm going to put them lower than the Cardinals for right now, which is tough. But yeah, moving on, Patriots. Now, there's rumors right now that the Patriots could get, what's his name, Brandon Ayuk. And Brandon Ayuk would be fantastic for the development of, what's his name? What's his name? Drake May. It says right now that Jacoby Brissett is starting over Drake May, so maybe Drake May is going to be learning from behind him. So in that case, right now, I'm putting them number one pick contention. Ramondre Stevenson, he's all right. He's decent, you know. Their O-line's, you know. They do have Hunter Henry. They got no receiver weapons whatsoever. They do have Juju, but, like, come on, it's Juju. If Juju's your number one receiver, then, yeah, you're not going to be in a good spot. Matthew Judon's getting older and older. They do have Josh Uche, Kyle Duggar, Jabril Peppers, Christian Gonzalez, who's coming back from his injury last year. But, yeah, this team's definitely very lackluster when it comes to talent. So they definitely need to keep tanking for better picks overall and hopefully for the development of Drake May. So, yeah, I'm going to say they're a number one pick contention along with the Broncos. So, yeah. Moving on to the Cleveland Browns. Now, no more Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco's Cinderella stories, no more. You know, he's no longer with the team. It's Deshaun Watson, all right? It's Deshaun Watson or bust. And they're not going to bust per se because, I mean, they did add Jerry Jeudy for the Broncos. Their core is pretty decent, actually. Like, they got Nick Chubb, who is coming back from injury, a scary, scary injury. He might not look the same, but still, they got Jerome Ford behind him. Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, David Njoku. This O-line's really good. They have a great defense as well with Myles Garrett leading the pack, and Zadarius Smith, Jeremiah Owusu-Kamara, Devin Bush, Denzel Ward, Grant Delvit, like Greg Newsome. Like, this is a talented team. If they get the right quarterback, which isn't Deshaun Watson, and they paid him, which sucks for Browns fans, but still, they're a potential wildcard team for sure. I'd put them. I'll put them. Damn. I'm putting them higher than the Rams. Oh, do I like the? I'm gonna do that. Yeah, I'm gonna put the Dolphins higher than the Rams, and I'm gonna put the Browns higher than the Dolphins. Yeah, I'm gonna. I think I like that. I like that. I do like that. Okay. Sorry, I just gotta decide which teams I like more than the others. Between these two, I like the Broncos more. Yeah, I do. Okay. And overall, I think this is pretty good. Okay. Texans. CJ Stroud looks like an elite quarterback, and I don't think he's going to regress at all. I think he's, in fact, going to improve. I mean, this Texans have done it right, all right? They got their quarterback. They said, hey, now that we know we got our quarterback and he's on a rookie deal, let's take advantage and get him some great weapons. Let's get him Stephon Diggs, you know. Let's get him Joe Mixon, you know. Nico Collins and Tank Dell are coming back, you know what I'm saying? Will Anderson on defense. He's also got now Danielle Hunter, you know. They're adding pieces overall. Like, this defense has Derek Stingley, Agier, Desmond King, Jimmy Ward. They got Laremy Tunsil, Kenyon Green, you know, Dalton Schultz. This team is a Super Bowl contender. I personally believe this team's a Super Bowl contender. I think this is the best team to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, listen, the Kansas City Chiefs are still by far the best team in the NFL. But if someone were to tell me that the Chiefs lost to someone in the playoffs, I would assume it's the Texans. The Texans or the Bengals, but we'll get to that later. Moving on, the Chiefs, undoubtedly, back-to-back Super Bowl champions. Undoubtable dynasty. Mahomes looking like the future GOAT. Has won 3 rings, and he's a 2-time MVP. The team, listen, last year at their worst, 11-6, terrible receiving core. They couldn't catch a single football, and they still able to win the Super Bowl. And now they have added Xavier Worthy, Marquise Brown. Rashee Rice is going to his second year, even though there's some, legal issues, but still. Isaiah Pacheco's going to get better, you know what I mean? Travis Kelce's getting older, but still, very reliable last year, as we could tell. He looked washed in the regular season. Wasn't the case in the playoffs. O-line's still great. You know, their defense is still good. They did lose L'Jarius Sneed, but hey, Trent McDuffie's still there, Brian Cook, you know what I'm saying, Nick Bolton, Chris Jones, like George Karlaftis. Yeah, this team's the best team in the NFL right now, by far. The Texans are lower than them. The Chiefs are the best team by far. Moving on to the Saints. Derek Carr, Do I need to say anything more? They're mediocre. I'm gonna say I'm gonna put them higher than the Raiders because they're in the NFC South. NFC South is a terrible division, the worst one, in my opinion. I think everyone agrees with that as well. When you have Derek Carr quarterback, you're just bound for a really limited ceiling. Alvin Kamara is getting older, but Chris Olave is great. Raheem Shaheed's nice. They do have Juwan Johnson. Their O-line's They need to fix the O-line maybe a little bit more. Their defense is still pretty nice, but they're getting older. Marshawn Lattimore, Tyrann Mathieu, Demario Davis, Cameron Jordan. This defense has been good, and the Saints defense has been good for a couple of years now, and they really haven't taken advantage of it. So, yeah, they're going to go and get worse as they get older. So, yeah, I'm saying they're mediocre at best. Nothing really much to say there. But moving on to the Dallas Cowboys. Listen, when it comes to regular season, they're great. Playoffs, they choke. They will never be with Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy on their team, which I don't know why they still have those two, but regardless, they will never be a Super Bowl contender. However, the regular season gets them into the playoffs, and that's where they're going to be. They're going to be a playoff team. They will be a playoff team. Dak Prescott, he can get the job done in the regular season. CeeDee Lamb's a great receiver, top 5 receiver. They got Brandon Cooks still. They have Jake Ferguson, who's nice. Jalen Tolbert. Their O-line's worse than last. They did lose Tyron Smith to the Jets, but still, Zach Martin's still there. Tyler Smith's still there. They do have DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, who needs to get paid. Deron Bland, Trayvon Diggs, who's coming back from injury. Their defense is still going to be decent. We'll see how they look without Dan Quinn, who's now the head coach of the Washington Commanders, but still, this is a playoff team, all right? A low-end playoff team, right? Like, they just choke in the playoffs, all right? Don't let last year's Packers game think they're going to be a terrible team or first-pick contention. You know what I mean? They're a playoff team, all right? Simple as that. Moving on to the Los Angeles Chargers. Would I put them mediocre at best? It's tough. Justin Herbert may arguably, along with Dak Prescott, be arguably the most overrated quarterbacks in the NFL. The O-line could be better, of course, but Rashawn Slater is nice. They did lose Corey Linsley to retirement, but they did get Joe Alt, which is a good pick. They did lose receivers, but they did get Ladd McConkey in the first round. Joshua Palmer, of course. They did get Quentin Johnson last year, which was a whiff. They don't have good running backs anymore. They took the Ravens running backs, which I guess will go well. I'm not well, but all right. Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins. But yeah, their defense is getting older. Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Asante Samuel, Derwin James. Like, this team was way better years previously, and they couldn't do anything with it. Now they do have the right coach, I believe, with Jim Harbaugh. But still, like, especially in the Chiefs division, they were mediocre last year as well. They're mediocre at best. They're top of mediocre, but mediocre at best. That's where I'm putting the Chargers. So, yeah. Moving on to the New York Jets. Rodgers. Hopefully healthy this season, He had only 4 snaps played last year, and that was his entire season. Really, really unlucky for the Jets. However, it will go better this year, as I believe they will be a playoff team. Lower than the Cowboys. I put the Cowboys over the Falcons. Jets right here. Yeah, that's pretty good right there. But listen, Rodgers is there. Breece Hall is nice and young. Garrett Wilson's nice and young. Mike Williams, although has injury concerns, is very, very talented. Tyler Conklin, they did add some offensive line pieces, which will help Rodgers be protected, and Tyron Smith from the Cowboys. Joe Pittman's still there. They did get Olao Fashu in the first round, So they've signed a lot of guys. They've signed some guys. The defense is still going to be great under Sauce Gardner, the number 1 corner in the league, arguably. I think so. He's the number 1 corner in the league. They did get Hassan Reddick from the Eagles. They have Quinn Williams still, Jermaine Johnson, Quincy Williams, C.J. Mosley, DJ Reed, and so. This team's a playoff team. When Rodgers is healthy, it's a playoff team, and I believe Rodgers will be healthy with this O-line he's got. He'll maybe miss a game or two, but for the most part, they'll be healthy. They'll be a low-end playoff team. Now, the Panthers. I think Bryce Young could still be the quarterback for the Panthers. I think he was just doomed by terrible coaching, doomed by terrible players around him. But hey, now he's got Deontay Johnson, along with Adam Thielen, and they did get a first-round receiver in Xavier Legette. They did get Jonathan Brooks from in the second or third round. The O-line definitely needs to improve, but it's getting better. Defense. They lost Brian Burns. I don't know why they traded him. I think that was stupid in my eyes, but still, whatever. I guess they're restarting their team. They still got J.C. Horn, Derek Brown. This team, I think they're still going to need time to figure it out. Adam Thielen's there, right? He's there, but he's getting older, This team still needs time to figure it out. They're probably the best team out of these three, but they're still number one pick contention. They're still going to be tanking and looking for better players for for Bryce Young. So yeah. Moving on to the Vikings. J.J. McCarthy as their quarterback. No more Kirk Cousins. People call him the next Mac Jones. Right now they say Sam Darnold starting, which is quite interesting. But listen, they got Aaron Jones from the Packers, who is injury prone. So you got to be careful with that, but he's still a really, really good running back. Justin Jefferson is obviously the number one receiver in the league, along with Tyreek Hill. But they got Jordan Addison, great receiver too. Arguably could be a receiver one on another team, but they got T.J. Hawkinson. Listen, J.J. McCarthy's got the right pieces around him to succeed. Their O-line's all right, you know what I mean? Their defense, lackluster. Harrison Smith's getting older, Harrison Phillips, this defense isn't good, but this offense definitely can be underrated in this league. I'm gonna put them. They're not a potential wild card team to me. Are they? Nah, they're a low end potential wild card team. I'm gonna tell you why. Because when Justin Jefferson was not healthy last year, and they were mediocre at best. When Justin Jefferson's healthy, which he will probably be because he only just got an injury last year, he can basically carry this team to a couple more wins. Justin Jefferson is just on another level, He can single-handedly win games for the Vikings, and that's why I'm putting them at potential wildcard teams. I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but Justin Jefferson is just on another level. So, yeah. Moving on to the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans. I believe this team's very underrated offensively as well. Now, Will Levis is I'm not the biggest fan of him. But listen, they got Tony Pollard from the Cowboys. They got Calvin Ridley from the Jaguars. They got D-Hop still on the team. Tyler Boyd from the Bengals. Their O-line's getting a bit better. They still have Jeffrey Simmons. Now, they did lose Mike Vrabel, which I think was a terrible decision to fire him. But I guess you want to move on. You never know. They have Jamal Adams now from the Seahawks. They have L'Jarius Sneed from the Chiefs. This team's getting better. This team's definitely getting better. They're mediocre, but they could. They're not in a terrible division. They could definitely be. I'm putting them right here. I think they're not as good as the Seahawks or the Chargers, but these three teams could definitely be in potential wild cards. These three teams could definitely overperform. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Now, moving on to the Colts. Anthony Richardson, unhealthy last year. Hopefully he can be healthy this year. But listen, they still got Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman Jr., Josh Downs, Ande Mitchell. The O-line's still pretty good with Quentin Nelson. DeForest Buckner's still there. Although getting older, he's still there. The defense could definitely do better, but listen, Anthony Richardson, I believe, is a really good player, and I think they're a potential wildcard team. I think they're a low-end potential wildcard team, right below the Vikings. Listen, they were a potential wildcard team last year, with Gardner Minshew. I think Anthony Richardson's better than that. I think he's a playmaker. And with Jonathan Taylor, yeah, this team could definitely be a potential wildcard team for sure. The 49ers are better than the Texans, regardless if they have Brandon Ayuk or not, which seems like they're not going to have Brandon Ayuk. They still got the best roster in the NFL. Brock Purdy, George Kittle, Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel. No Brandon Ayuk, but that's okay. They still got Juwan Jennings. They got a first-round receiver in Ricky Purcell, I think. Yeah, I think that's Ricky. I think Ricky Purcell was their first-round receiver. They still got Kyle Juszczyk, Nick Bosa, Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner, Devondre Campbell from the Packers, Tre'Davious Ward, Hufanga. This is make or break for the 49ers, because after this year, they're going to have to pay Brock Purdy. And once you pay Brock Purdy the amount that quarterbacks are getting nowadays, like $60 million, yeah, you're not going to be able to pay a Trent Williams or George Kittle, a Deebo Samuel. Christian McCaffrey will probably stay because he's got his deal, but still, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, Dre Greenlaw, it's going to be tough. This is the make or break year for them. It's been make or break for them for years now, but if there isn't a time more important for the 49ers, it's now. It's now. So, yeah. Moving on to Detroit Lions. I believe the Packers and the Lions are going to be really up there when it comes to the NFC North. But I do believe because of the more playoff experience that the Lions have, I do believe they are a low-end Super Bowl contender. Jared Goff, when he's got a healthy, nice pocket, which he will, because that O-line on the Lions is insane when it comes to Tyler Decker, Frank Ragnoff, Kevin Slider, and Penei Sewell. They got Dave Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, great running back duo. Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Amon-Ra's going to only get better, you know what I mean? Jameson Williams hopefully can take that next step as he was a first-round receiver a couple of years ago. Aiden Hutchinson's getting better. DJ Reader's nice from the Bengals. They got Jack Campbell. They have Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph. They got Taron Arnold from the first round of the draft this year. This team's really, really good. Dan Campbell, they should have won last year's NFC Championship game. It's just that Dan Campbell's decisions that is the identity of the Lions cost them because he kept going for it on fourth down. You know what I mean? He's just got to learn to play it more safe, and there definitely would have been the Super Bowl last year. So maybe Dan Campbell learns, maybe he sticks to what he does. I probably think he'll stick to what he does, but still. This team's a low-end Super Bowl contender. Moving on to the Eagles. I believe this Eagles team will be the division leaders over the Cowboys, but I still think the Cowboys will still be good in the regular season. No, there's a fun fact, actually. No NFC East, there's been a repeat NFC East champion back-to-back years. Now, what I mean is last year, the Dallas Cowboys won the NFC East, and the year before that, it was the Philadelphia Eagles. And the year before that, it was the Dallas Cowboys. And the year before that, it was the Washington Commanders. You know what I'm saying? In the past 20 years, there hasn't been a repeat NFC East champion. And that is absolutely crazy to think about. And I don't think the streak will be broken this year. I think the Philadelphia Eagles will take charge and win back the division from the Cowboys. Jalen Hurts, listen, the team was the best team in last year up until midseason. 10-1, had a horrible, horrible stretch. They looked like a number one pick attention team in the second half of the season. And absolutely just didn't want to play against the Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. But listen, I do believe Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback. I believe Saquon's a great running back. He's now finally got a great offensive lineman to run behind compared to the Giants O-line. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. Do I need to say more? No, I don't. Dallas Goedert, great player. Now, they did lose Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelce to retirement. But still, I think this tush push, I think the O-line still be great. They got Lane Johnson, of course, and Jordan Mailata. Their defense, now they do not have Hassan Reddick anymore, but I think Jalen Carr will take that next step. They got Bryce Huff, Devin White, Nolan Smith, Quinton Mitchell, Cesar Gardner-Johnson, Darius Slade Jr., and they also got, Cooper DeJean. So Quinton Mitchell and Cooper DeJean from the draft, which I think were great picks for them, DB wise, and they struggled last year a lot with passing, deep passing defense. So yeah, I think the Eagles have definitely gotten better. I think this team's supernatural funk, which I guess people are calling it last year, I don't think it'll transfer over to this year. I think they're going to be a good team this year. I think they're going to be a playoff team for sure. Now, ahead of the Eagles or ahead of the Packers, that's tough. That's tough. I'll put the. That's interesting. Oh, I'll put the Eagles over the Packers for now. But I think the Packers are better than Cowboys. I mean, we saw last year. But yeah, I think this is pretty good ranking for the Eagles and the Packers and the Cowboys. So yeah. Moving on to the Jaguars. They lost Calvin Ridley. Honestly, they misused Calvin Ridley. I mean, they could have used him so much better. I mean, they used him well in week 1. I mean, he had 10 targets and 100 yards and a touchdown. But then afterwards, they barely used Calvin Ridley, which was awful. You know what I mean? But Jaguars, they were 8-3 at one point and were in contention for the first seed in the AFC. But then Trevor Lawrence got injured and it all went downhill from there. They do have Travis Etienne, Christian Kirk still. They got Gabe Davis from the Bills. They have Brian Thomas Jr., a receiver from the draft. They got Evan Ingram. The O-line's all right. They got Josh Allen, who's now Josh Hines Allen, which helps with, recognizing who's who between him and Josh Allen from the Bills. Trayvon Walker, Eric Armstead, Devin Lloyd, Andre Sisco, Darnell Savage from the Packers. Their defense is Their offense is They're just pretty much not mediocre. I think they're better than mediocre. I think they're better than the Colts. I'm gonna say, I think the Vikings are better than the. Oh shit, this is tough. Damn. I'll put the Jaguars slightly above the Colts. The Cardinals, I'm gonna put them Cardinals between. I'm putting the Damn. I'm putting the Cardinals. Yeah. Damn, this is tough. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Yeah. Cardinals, then Vikings, then Colts, then Jaguars. Yeah, that'll work. I'll put it like that. Yeah. I'll put it like that. Steelers or Bears? I'm going to go Steelers over the Bears. Yeah, and then the Bears are right there. Okay. So, all right. So, I'm just fixing up the list. Yeah, I think that's good overall when it comes to the list. Do I like the Jets over the Falcons? I do. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Okay. Final two teams. Buccaneers. They made the playoffs last year. They won a round against the horrible second half Eagles. But anyway, they're in the NFC South. They do now have Kirk Cousins in that division, which will make it tougher. Baker Mayfield, he had a great year last year, but will he repeat that? I don't know, especially with his track record in previous seasons with the Cleveland and Carolina. But listen, they got Rashad White, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Trey Palmer, Cade Otton. They do have a nice O-line, especially with Tristan Wirfs on there. Their defense is going to get worse, I believe. Listen, their defense has been good for a couple of years now. Basically just like the Saints, but they're getting older with Vita Vea, Levante David, Jamel Dean, Antoine Winfield Jr. I do like Antoine. He's still pretty young, but overall, this team's getting older and older. So yeah, I think they're a potential wildcard team as well. I think they're in the higher end. would that go? Would I put them there? I think so. Who do I think makes the playoffs more? The Steelers or the Buccaneers? The Steelers. I don't know. That's tough. I think plus they got better quarterback. The Rams, Dolphins, the Browns. Damn, that's tough. Yeah, I'll leave them there for now. I think that's I think that's a good spot. I think that's a good spot for the Buccaneers overall. Yeah, it just depends on what Baker Mayfield does. I don't know if he's gonna be able to repeat what he did last year. And finally, the Bengals, Super Bowl contenders? Nope, just below. I think they're better than the Ravens. Yeah, I know that might be a hot take. Here's my reason why. Okay, last year, obviously, a lot of us NFL fans suffer from recency bias. Last year, the Bengals missed the playoffs, but listen, it was because they had no Joe Burrow, right? Joe Burrow was quite literally injured the entire season. So yeah, the last time Joe Burrow was fully healthy, he went into the AFC Championship game and almost beat Mahomes. Lost by 3 points, but almost beat Mahomes, you know. The year before, he beat Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and lost by 3 points in the Super Bowl. This guy's been great. This guy, Joe Burrow's been great. And when you have a person like that, you know, you're definitely going to be a playoff team and potentially Super Bowl contender for sure. Just last year, they didn't have that, and they were a potential wildcard team. But yeah, the Ravens got worse. You know, and the Bengals, now they did also get worse defensively. But listen, as long as you have Joe Burrow, you're always going to be in contention. And you got Jamar Chase as well. T. Higgins is still in the team, even though he might be gone soon after this year. Zach Moss is very underrated in my eyes. I think Zach Moss was a very good replacement for Joe Mixon, who went to the Texans. He was really good. Zach Moss was really good in Indianapolis. So I think that's a great pickup for the Bengals. Their O-line's better than previous years. They have Mike Gesicki from the Dolphins. The defense is still going to be decent with Logan Wilson, you know, Jordan Battle, DJ Turner II, Sam Hubbard, Trey Hendrickson, and etc. Like, they got Evan McPherson as well, good kicker. Like, this team's definitely very, very good. And I have the Bengals beating out the Ravens for the division. If that makes sense. Ooh, that's very tough. Ravens or Bengals? That's really tough. Just, okay, you know what? Man. That's a tough decision. Bengals or Ravens? Nah, I'm going to stick with my gut. I think Bengals are going to be better than the Ravens, especially with Joe. Joe Burrow's a much better playoff quarterback than Lamar. So, yeah, I think that's definitely what's going to happen. I think this is a good tier list overall. Let me know what you guys think. You know, do you guys hate my selections for your teams? You know, let me know which one's your favorite NFL team and think if I was right with where I put your favorite NFL team. But, yeah. I think this is pretty good for contenders, playoff teams, potential wildcard teams, mediocre, abyss, and number one pick contention. Yeah, I think this is really good. I'm really happy with this list. And hopefully I'm right for the 2024-25 NFL season. So, yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.